Most drivers think the traffic stop starts when the officer reaches the window. It doesn't. The real traffic stop starts 5 seconds earlier, the moment the officer asks, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" That question sounds harmless, it sounds conversational, it sounds like small talk. But in reality, it creates one of the most important decision points in the entire encounter. Because at that moment, the officer already knows why he stopped you. The only question is whether you're about to tell him something he didn't already know. One piece of knowledge can change how a situation ends for you. Subscribe now so you're prepared. Then share this video and tell me what you think about it in the comments. And that's exactly where most drivers make a mistake. Officer, do you know why I pulled you over? Driver, yeah, I was probably speeding. Officer, how fast do you think you were going? Driver, maybe 10 or 15 over. Without realizing it, the driver just turned a simple question into a series of admissions. The officer didn't say the driver was speeding. The driver said it first. The officer didn't estimate the speed. The driver did. And once people start talking, they usually keep talking. Officer, anything else going on today? Driver, no, I was just in a hurry. Officer, in a hurry to get where? Driver, I'm running late for work. Now the conversation keeps expanding. Not because the officer forced it, because the driver volunteered it. That's the trap. Most people think cooperation means explaining themselves. They think honesty automatically leads to leniency. So they start guessing. They start apologizing. They start filling the silence. And every sentence creates more information than existed before. Now let's look at the same stop a different way. Officer, do you know why I pulled you over? Driver, no officer. Why did you pull me over? That's it. No guessing. No admissions. No explanations. Just one simple sentence. No, officer. Why did you pull me over? The officer now has to explain the reason for the stop. Officer, I clocked you at 48 and a 35. Driver, understood. Notice how different that feels. The conversation stays focused on what the officer observed, not on what the driver volunteered. And that's the decision point hidden inside this question. The officer hasn't asked whether you're guilty. The officer hasn't asked for an explanation. The officer asked whether you know why you were stopped. Most drivers hear that and immediately begin building the case for him. The smarter approach is to let the officer explain his observations first. Now, some officers will push a little further. Officer, you really don't know why I stopped you? Driver, no, officer. Why did you pull me over? Officer, take a guess. Driver, officer, why did you pull me over? Notice what's happening. The response never changes. The driver isn't arguing. The driver isn't refusing to cooperate. The driver isn't being disrespectful. He's simply declining to guess. And that's important, because guesses often become admissions. People say things like, I may have been going a little fast. I might have rolled that stop sign. I looked down at my phone for a second. They think they're being helpful, but all they've really done is volunteer information. The officer's job is to investigate. Your job is not to investigate yourself. That's why this question matters so much. Not because the question is improper, not because the officer is doing something wrong, but because drivers routinely answer it in ways that hurt themselves. The legal principle here is actually simple. You generally don't have to provide voluntary admissions during a traffic stop. You do have to comply with lawful requirements like providing identification when required by law. But explaining, guessing, and volunteering information are very different things. That's why the best response remains the same. No, officer, why did you pull me over? Short, professional, easy to remember, and most importantly, it prevents the encounter from changing directions because of something you said. Remember, the trap isn't the traffic stop itself. The trap is believing you need to explain yourself before the officer explains the reason for the stop. The decision point occurs the instant you hear, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" The wrong response is guessing. The wrong response is admitting. The wrong response is filling the silence. The better response is simple, "No, officer. Why did you pull me over?" Because the smartest drivers aren't the ones who talk the most. They're the ones who recognize the decision point before the officer does.